How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this video. In this video we're going to look at how to paint a Neoterra Bolt from PanOceania. This is different than painting Citadel miniatures. This is a different technique. This is glazing and not that much edge highlighting, just a little bit. And this is the end result. I used whatever paints I had and mostly Vallejo, but I have no idea what the original creators of this game use. So this is my take on it. I hope you enjoy it, and I will start this video. I'm going to start by priming the model in gray. You can use whatever primer that you want, but I'm going to use gray because it's easier to cover over it with the light colors. And a good priming is essential for the paint to stick to the model. I'm going to use Deep Sky Blue as the first color. And with this color I'm going to start painting all of the armor. Don't worry if you paint over other stuff that you don't want to paint yet. You can cover it later with other colors and it'll be fine. Just try to follow the steps, and as you paint you go and fix whatever the blue paint went where it didn't need to. Also make sure to thin down all of the colors that you're going to use. Next I'm going to use Tallarn sand. This is a greenish yellowish brown for the underpants, and this is very close to the color you see on the original art on these miniatures, and I like it very much. If you want a very high quality miniature, make sure to thin down the colors enough. Always err on the side of thinning a little bit too much and apply different coats instead of applying one thick one. Next I'm going to use black, and with this I'm going to paint all of the details that I want to be black. You can watch the original art and see which colors are black. I just painted the gun, the gloves, and some part of the shoes on the very bottom of the shoes. Next I'm going to use Gungrey. This is essentially lead belcher. The model color air metallics are pretty good, as you may already know. If you can get them, they're pretty good. And this I'm going to base coat all of the metallic silver parts on the miniature. They're not too many, they're scattered here and there around the model. And what I'm doing here is just base coating every color on the miniature, just to make it easier for the next steps to highlight and shade the whole miniature. I'm just trying to block all of the colors before proceeding onto the washes and stuff like that. I'm going to use Flat Earth, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the places that I want to be brown. Some belts here and there, and this color that you only see behind the miniature, and all of the leather around the model, pretty much. For most of the miniature it has very small detail, so I used a small detail brush, pretty much. I'm going to use Skorne Red to paint all of the red around the model. This is a P3 paint, and I like the P3 reds a lot. This is a little bit more muted red, because on the shades I don't want a very vibrant red. I want a little bit more muted, and I'm going to shade it so it's gonna be darker. So this is a good base coat in my opinion. Next, Sandri Dust. With this I'm going to color the hair on the miniature. Next I'm going to use Celestra Grey to base coat every other part that I want to be white. This is just details around the armor here and there, and it's a very easy step. Of course, as I said, make sure that the paint is thin, and if necessary give several coats instead of one thick one. Depends on the level of quality that you want in your miniatures. Next I'm going to use Nuln Oil, and with a big brush I'm going to shade the whole thing. This is going to help me define all of the shadows and all of the stuff before I go in and start highlighting and shading the model entirely. So I'm going to shade the model entirely, just making sure that it doesn't pull too much anywhere, just to define all of those places that are the crevices and details around the model. And if you like it like that, you can leave it like this. It looks pretty good. but it looks dulled down because of the matte medium inside of the wash. So I'm going to go back and use Deep Sky Blue, and I'm going to start cleaning up the whole blue first and bringing it back to its original color. This is a very easy step. I'm using a fine detail brush and making sure that the color is thin. With pretty much just water is fine. You can use whatever additives you want. Of course, if you use drying retarders, the paint is gonna last a little bit more wet longer. And then I'm going to use Sky Blue. This color, I'm going to thin it down with Glaze Medium from Vallejo. The mixture is not anything set in stone, it's just whatever you feel comfortable with. And not too runny so it doesn't run into the crevices, and not too thick so that you actually have a little bit of glazing. And it's not gonna be too strong. You have to apply 2 or 3 coats of it in the places that are facing up the miniature where the light would hit, and you leave the recesses on the other color. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to give this model around 3 coats, I think I did, or even more if it needs in some places here and there. Once you picked out all of the highlights on the model, I'm going to mix white and sky blue again. This is a different sky blue. Note that the base coat was deep sky blue. This is a sky blue. And this is a mix of white and sky blue it's not exactly 50-50, is mixing them both and finding a color that it's between those two. So I can't give exact ratios on the paint. Here I moved, while that dried, into the Tallarn sand, and I started cleaning up that again. I'm gonna come back and paint the shadows on the blue. I don't know why I did it out of order, because I could have finished the blue before I moved on to this, but with this color I'm just picking up all of the Tallarn sand again and leaving the recesses on the shaded color. Next I'm mixing Tallarn sand with Ushabti Bone, and with this color I'm just applying a highlight where the light would hit. Whenever I say in this tutorial that I'm mixing 2 colors, I'm trying to find a color that is in between the 2 of them, as I said. It's not a ratio that I invented, it's just mixing them both and finding a color that is in between. Here I'm using pure Ushabti Bone, and I'm just pretty much just edge highlighting or highlighting the very edge where the light would hit on the pants, just to make them stand out a little bit more from the distance. Next I'm going to use medium blue and deep sky blue and finding a color in between. And this is going to be another glaze, so make sure that the color is thin so it doesn't have full opacity. And I'm going to go in with the fine detail brush and paint all the shadows in the miniature. Just make sure to be careful and try to imagine where the shade will show around for example here in the breast and the stomach, it would be towards the top. And if you paint a little bit paint a little bit thick, you can go back and use the deep sky blue and glaze it over the blue, just the darker blue, just to make the transition look a little bit more natural. And after that I'm going to use Khador Red Base to clean up the red on the face, just leaving the very darkest parts on the bottom of the faceplate, just to keep those very dark shadows on the red. Once that's done, I'm going to move on and use a mixture of Khador Red Base and Khador Red Highlight. And with this color I'm going to glaze the very top parts of the reds to give it a little bit more extra highlight. It's gonna make it a little bit more orangey red, a little bit more vibrant than the color by itself. So it's fine, I'm just highlighting here and there on the top of the helmet and the red parts. And then with pure Khador Red Highlight, I'm going to pretty much just edge highlight the places that are on top of the red. I'm not edge highlighting the whole thing. I'm not painting a Games Workshop model. This is different. This is a different style. This only goes on the very top parts that are in highlight. Next, I'm going to use Ulthuan Grey, and with this color I'm going to start cleaning up the white. And with this I'm going to cover almost the whole thing, just leaving a little bit here and there where you see that the white is in shadow. You can just leave it like that, or you can glaze it over so that you can get a little bit of a transition. It's very important to use the glaze medium because the color behaves differently. It becomes more transparent and easier to control than using just water. Here I'm doing almost the same thing. This is not quite as diluted, the white is just for edge highlights this time on the very brightest parts of the white. On the back of the places like this that is rounded, you can use a little bit of glaze medium to make a little bit more easy transition of color. Next I'm going to use German Grey, and I'm going to start highlighting the black. This is going to be barely noticeable, but it will be once you start applying more grays. And here I'm very quickly just picking up places that are more protruded on the gun, just to give them a highlight afterwards. Once that's done, I'm going to use Basalt Grey, and with this color I'm pretty much just picking up the highlights, starting to build up on these highlights, and the highlight is going to be a little bit more noticeable. And try to pick up all of the edges and places that are more protruded on the top parts of the gun. Once that's done, I'm going to come back in with Neutral Grey, and I'm going to pick up the very sharpest parts and the places that are most exposed to light, where light would hit more easily on the gun, just to give it the final highlight. Once that's done, the blacks are finished. I did the same for the gloves and stuff like that. I'm going to use Flat Earth and Ochre Brown to start highlighting the leather and the brown parts. This mixture of color, I'm going to pick up the brightest parts on these places too. You have to thin it down as a glaze as well, so if you want a good transition of color. And to finish it up, the brown, I'm going to use Ochre Brown to just pretty much edge highlight or highlight the top parts of these brown parts. Once that's done, I'm going to paint the hair, and I'm going to use Sandri Dust again. And because I don't like the black wash on the hair, I'm going to color in the whole thing again to come back in with a different wash. If you like it like that, you can leave it like that if you want, but I'm going to go with Seraphim Sepia, because this is going to give it a little bit more reddish brown shade instead of black, and it's gonna look a little bit more natural. I only did it that way because I wanted to show you a quick way to paint it. If you don't want to do any of these highlights, just block all of the colors on the miniature and wash it in black, and you can call it a day. But if you want to go on full detail on this model, you can just follow the rest of this tutorial. And here I'm using Ushabti Bone and just picking up the raised parts on the hair strands individually. And then I'm going to use Screaming Skull and just selectively highlighting places that are exposed to light on the hair. And that's pretty much, that's blonde hair. Next, I'm going to go back and use Gungrey, and with this color I'm going to highlight the silver. Try to pick only the places that are most exposed to light. The places that are in shade, you can leave it as they are with the washed black Gungrey, that's fine. And then Alluminium is going to be just the extreme highlight on the sharpest places and places that are most exposed to light. This is going to give a three-dimensional effect, and it's going to give the metallic a little bit more depth. Once it's done, I'm going to use medium blue, and I'm going to start coloring all the places that I want to be glowing blue, which is in the backpack and the eyes. These steps I'm applying on the eyes as well, but because they are so small and I need to be closer, I needed to do them off camera. I'm going to use Deep Sky Blue and give a very thin glaze around these parts to give them a little bit of glow. And after that's done, I'm going to use white and just put a little dot of white on the very center of these parts to give the illusion of object source lighting, I guess. I like this effect. I used it in my Grey Knights tutorial. It's very good, and I think it works well in this model too. And this is the finished model. I really like the way this model turned out. It's a little bit different from the original art on the boxes or the promotional stuff for Infinity. This is a little bit more vibrant blue and not so dulled down as the original art, but I like it very much. I think it's very effective. I like my model a lot, and I hope you learned a thing or two from this tutorial. As always, you can change the colors and paint your own Infinity models, kind of mimicking what I did in this tutorial. And if you like it, please leave a comment and let me know. And let me know if you would like me to paint more Infinity models and which faction is the cool one in your opinion. Like, comment, and subscribe. That really helps out my channel. And it shares it on your social media so that this video is viewed by more people. So that really helps a lot. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.
You stayed. Great. Thank you very much for watching my video, and if you would like to further support my channel, you can become my Patreon on Patreon. You can pledge as little as $1 a month, and you are helping me create more and better content. If you can't, that's fine, because you're helping my channel a lot just for watching and sharing, but you can read all of the details if you follow the link in the description below. I hope you can spare $1 to make this hobby of mine a job for which I can get paid. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.